Welcome to Brewsers, a podcast about beer, coffee, booze, and bruisers. I am your host, Rody John, and today we talk to Molly Fedick with Buzzkill Wines. We talk all about how Buzzkill got started during the pandemic, the non-alcoholic market, and so much more. This is such a fun and great conversation with Molly. It's dry January, so we got to show some love to the non-alcoholic world, which is getting so much bigger, and I love it so much. So if you want to buy some Buzzkill, make sure to go to Amazon, just add it to your cart, and they will get delivered straight to your house. Now, speaking of things you can also do online, make sure to sign up for our newsletter. It comes out twice a week. You get even more information about our guests. You get fun facts, and you get to find out what's happening with your favorite podcast all about beer, coffee, booze, and bruisers. So without further ado, here is Molly Fedick with Buzzkill Wines. I would like to welcome to the show Molly Fedick with Buzzkill Wines. How are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm very good, thanks. How are you?
Doing well. So kind of paint a word picture for people who are listening. Where are you at? What's going on around you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I live in LA, in Hermosa Beach, if you're familiar with LA. It's like a smallish beach community right outside the city. I was in New York prior to that for 6 years. And yeah, now I'm a California girl, from Chicago originally. Started this business about 2.5 years ago, and it's just kind of been a whirlwind since then.
Wow. Yeah, I've definitely heard some interviews with you already about, this brand, and you're very open with, your life and everything that's going on, which I love, and we'll definitely get into in a minute. But I was in LA earlier this year for WrestleMania. And I always forget how bad the traffic is until I'm in LA, and then I'm like, nope, that traffic is just as awful as it was last time.
Well, I have two comments there. One, I've definitely never been to WrestleMania.
Oh, you
but
definitely.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
And two, that's part of the reason that I live in the South Bay, which is like the area that Hermosa is in, is because it's very walkable, and we call it the bubble because you can kind of avoid the traffic. You don't really leave the South Bay when you live there. So whenever I go downtown or like Hollywood or Venice, any of those places, I'm like, oh my God, this traffic is so bad. But in my like day-to-day life, I don't experience it, which is great.
Just add a couple hours to your commute and, you can get anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so funny because like I'll go to events all the time in like, West Hollywood or Silver Lake or wherever. And like on the way there, like around rush hour, it'll be like an hour and 40 minutes to get there, and on the way back it'll be like 25 minutes.
Right? It's insane, like getting in and then like getting out's perfectly fine. It's like we were just in town, like we didn't even really touch the highways that much because we did a lot of stuff in LA. Like I visited some dispensary out there and some breweries, but almost everything we were doing was in Inglewood, which is just not too far. But everything inside the city of LA was just so bad traffic-wise. I was like, why is this so bad? And then the highways are even worse. So everyone wants to be in there at all times.
Now, where are you from originally? Where are you located?
I am in the DFW area in Texas.
Oh, okay, yeah. So Texas is one place I really haven't spent a lot of time. I was in Austin last year for South by Southwest, but I think last time I was in Dallas, I was like 5.
Wow. It has changed a lot since you were 5 years old.
Yeah, I know. I have a lot of friends that live there. I should probably get out there.
You very much should. I also do a podcast about the city of Arlington, and not a lot of people will talk about Arlington, but Arlington is actually the second most destination city outside of Orlando because of all the sports and obviously Six Flags and Hurricane Harbor and everything else. And then once the Medal of Honor Museum opens up, that'll even blow things even higher. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to check it out. I'm hoping to do a lot more like travel with the company this year, so I will put Texas on my list.
Definitely do. And I'll show you all the good spots to eat and drink, or not drink, if you will.
Oh, yeah, either way.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I heard that Buzzkill Wines was thought of during the pandemic, which is ironic because alcohol sales were at the highest that they ever were in 2020. Tell
Yeah.
us more about how all that happened.
Yeah, I always laugh and say I think I'm like the only person in the world that drank less during the pandemic or stopped drinking during the pandemic, because I was on a good run with cocktails and wine and all of that prior to the pandemic. I lived in New York City for 6 years, and I worked at a dating app, and my job was just like crazy stressful and like also very social though. So there was like every single event that we had involved alcohol. I would go out for friends' birthdays and brunches and just nights out and everything involved alcohol. So I'm a very social drinker. So when the pandemic started, I just kind of was like, in my house, like alone. And I'm like, well, okay, now what? And I didn't really feel like a need to drink just because there was nothing going on. So that's when I decided, okay, well, I might as well like take a break from it and see how I feel. And that ended up, being an extended break. And that's when I thought of Buzzkill, because I actually moved out of New York during the pandemic. I had always wanted to live in a ski town, so I moved to Lake Tahoe during the pandemic, and that's actually where I thought of Buzzkill.
But yeah, I had heard that, and I was like, it's good because New York got hit super hard, and then everything was just really weird the way everything was being run, and obviously
yes.
History will truly tell the story of how everything was played out. But New York was definitely one of those, because everyone's just on top of each other, so it makes sense that it was getting hit harder than almost any other city.
Well, I also got the hell out of there. Like the second day the first day, my office was like, hey, we're closing. We're not going to be in the office while this is going on. And at that time, right, we thought it was going to be like 2 weeks. So, so I don't know. I just had this feeling. I went home to my apartment and I was like, I just have a feeling that New York is going to be like The Walking Dead if this goes sideways. And so I literally packed like a carry-on suitcase and, went straight to the airport and went to my parents have a house in Vegas, and I went straight to Vegas, which is where they were. Yeah, that's the other thing is like my friends and a lot of people in New York, they're from the tri-state area. So if things got bad, they were able to like escape. I didn't know if they were going to shut down the airports or anything. So I just was like, get me out of here ASAP before anything really, really bad happens. And that was in March, and I didn't end up going back to move out of my apartment until August.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was crazy.
So during that time in Tahoe, I heard that you were trying I can't speak for whatever you.
No,
great
you're
for
good.
a podcast. You were kind of missing the ritualist type drinks of the wine during eating and cooking and stuff, and so you were trying the non-alcoholic wine. And full disclosure, I used to be in the wine industry for 14 years, so I understand your plight, because the non-alcoholic wine section is not only crazy small, but was completely overlooked for a very long time. It was one of those things where you were either pregnant or a recovering alcoholic, and you just needed that fix. So I totally understand where your thought process was like, well, maybe somebody else can do something better, and then you decided to just do it on your own.
Yeah. I don't know where I got the confidence for this, because I had zero experience in consumer product goods, wine, food, hospitality. I'd never made a physical product. Like, I literally didn't know anything. But I think it was because I also got laid off during that period in December of 2020. And the idea, I was so burned out from that job that the idea of going back into another like corporate environment, like tech job, was just so, to be honest, like horrifying to me. So I was like, okay, well, I have this idea, so I might as well try it out. And it also just, from a very personal standpoint, I mean, drinking and not drinking and a decision to cut back or cut out on alcohol, I really think is like kind of a super personal, like really intense decision. It's not, if you've been drinking for many years, it doesn't come lightly. So for me, like I had kind of been exploring that whole lifestyle and realized that I wasn't the only one who was desperate for something like this product that I wanted to make. So for me, it wasn't just about me. It was also about like, okay, I think there's other people out there who are in this same position and maybe I can do something about it.
I mean, without a doubt. I mean, look, I mean, I'd heard you mention athletic beer in a previous interview, and I was like, they are the one non-alcoholic beer that tastes exactly like beer. Cause
yep.
I'll try to do dry January every year, and I'm gonna try. I actually do it. But I'll have that because I'll go to a local kind of pub with my friends, and they have it there, and I'm like, okay, good. I don't feel like I'm just having to drink water or drink an unhealthy soda, so I can actually kind of have that Band-Aid of, you know what, I can't actually have a beer, so let me have this athletic beer. And they have one for like every varietal, which is fantastic. Like their IPA tastes like an IPA. Their lagers taste like lagers.
Yep.
It's not just, here is beer flavored water, and it's crazy.
Yeah, and like so I'm not even really a beer drinker at all, but since I've gone on this whole non-alcoholic thing, I actually love Athletic Brewing. There's a few other ones. Like I actually think Heineken Zero is pretty good. There's a few other ones. Heyday Brewing is really good. But yeah, so for me, like the beer thing, I'm not as sensitive to like what real beer is supposed to taste like. With wine, I'm really sensitive to it. So when I was trying all these wines, I was just like, oh my God, like these are horrible. Like there has to be a better way. And the other thing, I actually was talking to, like another person in the non-alc space yesterday. And, when you were mentioning the stuff about like what you want to order at a restaurant, she was saying that she and her friends who don't drink joke that like a soda water and a lime is what they call it, the last resort. That's like their name of their cocktail. Cause it's like the most boring thing to drink. So yeah, I was on that for a while as well. And I still am. Like when you don't go to a restaurant, or when you go to a restaurant, they don't have a non-alc part of the menu. Sometimes that's like what you have to drink. So I have been drinking a lot of Diet Coke and soda water as well.
Right. It's funny because it's obviously for your health reasons to make the decision not to drink, which, taking a month off is not a bad thing. Like dry January is obviously a very big thing. Joe Rogan's made Sober October a very big thing.
Yep.
So like actually taking it's a month out of your entire life. It's not that long. It's like 30 days is not that big of a deal. Hopefully you live longer than, 50 something years. So 30 days out of that, if you really look at it, not that big of a deal. So taking a break, again, you also need to challenge your body on a regular basis when it does come to how much alcohol you consume. Because after that month, you realize I feel better, my thoughts are better, my pocketbook feels better, your waistline probably feels better. Like the whole thing is just actually a good thing for everybody.
It's actually miraculous. Like whether you do it in January or some other time, it is unbelievable. And I have no judgment against people that like, I don't call myself sober. I'm really not drinking at all right now, but like, I say like, I think sober has like a lot of weight to it and like connotations. Right. And so I always say like, oh, I'm just not drinking right now. Because if I want to try a cocktail or have a glass of wine, like I'll have it. But, honestly, like I'm at the point now after 2 years, like while I was developing Buzzkill, I was still drinking like off and on. And I'm at the point now where it's like, I don't even want to drink really, like ever, unless there's like a really amazing cocktail or glass of wine in front of me. I'm like, I'm not going to waste my real drink on like a White Claw, it's just not worth it to me and how I feel and just my productivity and everything you were talking about with dry January, like all of it is just so much better for me without alcohol. So it's like, I don't even want to drink anymore.
Right. Also, do not ever shotgun a White Claw. There's way too many bubbles, and you won't get to the bottom. It's too many bubbles.
Okay, I'll remember that.
Yeah.